for jump at school, the hard facts were the grade point average, which we call the GPA. It's the short form. And also the absences and the grade for disruptive behavior. So the results of the hard facts, I'll just tell you a little bit about how the GPA changed from the pre-test to the post-test. To analyze the GPA, we used a multi-level analysis. Multi-level analysis allows you to include different measurements for the same individual. So for each participant in Jump at School, we had the grade point average at 3 points in time. So we had the grade point average at the end of the school year 2015 and 2016, which was the grade we used to select the students to be part of the intervention. And then the pre-test or the pre-GPA was at the beginning of the intervention, which was in the middle of the school year 2015-2016, and then we had the end of year 2015-2016. So those are the 3 points in time. With the GPA, unfortunately, we don't see very much difference from the pre-test to the post-test, or the end of one year to the end of the next year. The first Spanish school and the first Italian school, you see, if you look at the graph that we presented, you see that the control group, they do a little bit better than the intervention group. So the idea was that the intervention group becomes better than the control group because they received the intervention and the control group did not. But this is a very, very, very small difference. And if you look at the margin of fluctuation, it actually disappears, the difference. So in that sense, we cannot confidently say that there's a difference between the two groups. With the second Italian school, the intervention group does a little better than the control group, but it's also not such a big difference. In the second Spanish school, we see that the intervention group improves in GPA more than the control group. This is an improvement of about 0.5. So at first glance, 0.5 is not that much. But if you think about it, it means almost 1 point for every other subject. And 1 grade point more for every other subject is actually not that small. So if we were to look at the intervention and think, okay, how did it work on the GPA of the students? If it worked anywhere, I would say it worked the best in the second Spanish school. The soft facts for us were questions about maybe the personality of the students to some extent, or you can call it psychological dispositions. So they included items, for example, to do with learn engagement, school motivation, commitment to complete an education. So in the soft questionnaire, we had 7 different dimensions that we covered. Because the 7 different dimensions, I'm not going into detail about each one of them, but I'll give you a general overview of the results. So on one sense, when you look at the results of the soft questionnaire, you see that some items significantly improved. We see items where there was an improvement in the experimental group or the intervention group, which was significant. But at the same time, we see a number of items where the intervention group, unfortunately, becomes worse than the control group, also statistically significant. But most of the items, there's no change. So we don't see a significant change, either positive or negative, for the control group. So when we saw these results, obviously we were shocked. We didn't want to get these results. We expected that there'll be an improvement in the dimension of the soft question and also in the GPA. But then it wasn't actually a bad result, because it brought us into going back into the schools, going back to the jump operators, going back to the students, and actually checking what did they do in the intervention, what happened, and what could have caused this kind of results or lack of results. Because as I said, most of the items did not show any significant change in any direction. So for us, we went also back into the evaluation, and we looked at what could have caused this from an evaluation point of view. And one of the main things is actually the dosage of the intervention. So this is also related very much to the timing. The intervention took 5 to 6 months, I think, in both countries. And I'm not sure if you want to change a pupil's motivation, if you want to improve the motivation, I don't know if these 5 to 6 months are enough, because in these 5 to 6 months they also had only 4 individual meetings, and then they had 3 workshops. So I'm not quite sure that that the dosage was enough. Maybe it would have needed a longer time to make a real effect, or maybe it would have needed to be more intensive for the results to be seen in the items of the questionnaires. In essence, the time it takes for an effect to be measurable needs to be shorter than the intervention time. So we had 5 to 6 months, and maybe some of the results needed time to mature. So maybe the children or the students, the pupils, they needed time to reflect on what they have learned, and then later the results would come out. So in this sense, we just got the grade point averages from the first term of the year 2016-2017, and we're going to check if that shows any improvement. So maybe it could be that they just needed a little bit more time for the results to be seen in the grade point averages. Unfortunately, we can't do the questionnaire one more time to see if this changed in the soft facts, but at least we'll be able to have an idea from the grade point averages. If we wanted to see a real change in the grade point average, then our intervention might have needed to look different. Maybe we would have just worked on the people's learning skills. So how do they learn? Maybe give them extra tuition on the different school subjects, and then we might have seen a very big improvement in the grade point average. But unfortunately or fortunately, early school leaving is quite a complex topic, and that means because it's such a complex topic, we have to look into very many different dimensions. That means our main dependent variable, which is the grade point average, was not in very direct relationship with the independent variable, which is all the activities of the intervention. And also because I said it's a complex phenomenon, the individual meetings, they covered individual problems. So, but a maximum of 4 individual meetings is maybe not enough for such results to be seen.